Hi, my name is Jeremy Hicks. I'm one of the content creators here at the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking and Kids Not for Sale. In our last episode, we had a conversation with our founder, Kevin Malone, and pastor, author, and speaker, Francis Chan. What brought them together to actually have this interview was creating a new video study series that the U.S. Institute is putting out. It's called Advocate. What Advocate is about is actually educating the church about how human trafficking exists currently in our nation and what the church can do to respond to it in a Christ-filled way. Today, they're going to talk about their mission of ending human trafficking and trying to get the church involved. Many times people think it's the pastor who should be taking those steps, but many times it's really just any member of the church can get involved in taking a step to actually fight human trafficking. And many times people get around the idea of fighting human trafficking. We all want to end this heinous crime. But as soon as the rallying starts, it seems the hard work begins, and that's when they kind of tailor off. In this episode, Kevin and Francis talk about how they've kind of experienced the same thing. They want to get involved in this fight, but it seems like something always gets in the way. Something always becomes harder. So they spend some time encouraging each other and encouraging other people who might want to also get involved inside the church to do what Christ has called us to do, and that's to be the hands and feet of Jesus. You're going to hear the hearts of Kevin and Francis and how they really truly want to end human trafficking in the name of Jesus Christ. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
So Francis, I think many years ago, almost 20 now, at least 18, 17, that you started talking about human trafficking, and you were making the congregation aware of this issue, this challenge. And that's been a long time, and I think you got some people that responded and took action. What would be your words of encouragement to churches, no matter if they're real small out in the country, in the Midwest, if they're inner city mega churches? How do you, as a pastor, share with other pastors why this is important to protect, to intervene, to provide, just to get involved in why should it be important?
Oh gosh, I mean it's huge, because when I look back at my time, I was 16 and a half years at that church, like the things that I now still cherish is I think about people that were sitting in there when I talked about, let's say, human trafficking. And, there's everything that you're doing. I think of, I don't know if you remember Ted and Sandy. She was my assistant. Yeah. She opened up a thrift store, and they're giving hundreds of thousands every year. I mean, she's older than you. Yeah. And that's a miracle in itself. But she's
good point.
And she's running this thing. Her and her husband. It's crazy. And then there was a Shannon. I remember, and she started Forever Found. And she's been cranking in that ministry.
In the gal in Thailand.
Of course, Lana, and just encouraging. And then even when I went to Thailand after leaving Cornerstone, I get there and a guy there, picks me up. I'm like, wait, I know you. He goes, yeah, I was an usher at your church. He goes, you guys talked about adoption, so we adopted a couple girls. You talked about human trafficking, so I moved our family over here to Thailand. And I'm like, what? Like our words, like sometimes you can look at all the people that just sit there and like, oh, that's good, thanks, that was funny, and you forget, no, there were lives that were seriously impacted too. I think of, just even when we tried to do that big outdoor amphitheater and the county was shutting it down, but there was that big hearing and some guy was bashing me, and then one of the city council members, someone on the board of supervisors, I don't even know him, I don't think he was a believer, he goes, hey, I want to refute whatever that guy said about, everything that guy said about Francis. He goes, I don't even know Francis. He goes, all I know is that Cornerstone was the one church that listened to me and actually cared about the kids in the foster system. That was the one church where they let me speak at the platform. Then we moved all of our classes to Cornerstone. He goes, do you realize that we've never had more than a dozen parents? And that was the record.
I remember that.
And then we moved into the church. And he says, there's over 100 people in every class. And they're taking all of our foster kids out of the system. And I just remember at that time just like, wow. yes, this is the church. This is what we're supposed to do. Like, if you're not involved in these things, like, there's no life.
Yeah.
You know, when we said, okay, we're going to give away half of our finance, everything that comes in, half of it's going to go out. And every week I'd come up and I'm like, hey, look what we did this week. Mm-hmm. We built these wells, da, 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 da. And the whole place would just be cheering. And I'm just going, I was so proud of the church. I was so happy about what God was doing there. And I know that a lot of churches are in tough times now, COVID, everything else, but that's no excuse. Like, God sees when we care for those who are in need. Mm-hmm. And he will bless the church that goes, I don't even know how we're going to pay the bills, but I can't let these guys starve either. Let's cut our salaries. Let's do whatever we need to do to fight some of these injustices. It's not a guilt thing. I mean, it says that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. Mm-hmm. And I think about that. I think about those days when I would say, hey guys, this is what, we just sent $250,000 to da da da. And everyone starts cheering and I'm like, we're cheerful givers. Like, we love doing this. Like, it's a joy. And I don't know where my life would be if I hadn't spent it on the poor. Mm-hmm. Like, my faith, my joy. That's when my wife and I look at each other and go, do you know anyone happier than us? Mm-hmm. And we're both like, no. After 30 years of marriage, it's like, but if we hadn't done that.
So here's what I get. Sometimes I'll take this message of the fight about child sex trafficking to various pastors, and a lot of times I get, we're doing too many other things. But I revert back to the Bible. All the occasion it talks about widows and orphans. Mm-hmm. I believe in my heart that the trafficked kids in America today are modern day orphans. Mm-hmm. They've either run away, they're from foster care, a few have been abducted, but they're in the technical terms, and I've done a lot of research on this because I believe that it's a mandate from God that we're to take care of widows, the orphans. I just really feel like every church should have some, and maybe not every, but most every should have something to do with helping kids that are, like you're talking, poor, they're vulnerable in some way, they don't have parents, or I don't know, I just think that when you tell me you've got too much going on that you can't protect kids and help kids, I'm thinking, maybe so, but that doesn't resonate with me. I don't know, maybe you can help me understand that.
Well, I will say pastors nowadays are under so much pressure that, there's such a lack of unity in churches. Everyone comes as an individual, and everyone's got their own agenda. And so I do feel for pastors today. Everyone comes in going, you should care about this, you should care about this, you should care about this. And they are just like livid about it. And, whether it's race, whether it's finances, whether it's, some other injustice, there's a lot of that going on. And churches are splitting because of it. And meanwhile, they're also trying to fight just this sexual, revolution type of, freedom. And they've got people warring with them at that. So it's just, I agree, like, we've got to care about this, but I'm also really burdened for the church as a whole right now. It's a tough time to be a pastor.
I don't know how it always works, but if I'm a pastor and I do have a lot on my plate, and I do agree with you, they really do, but there probably is someone in the congregation, someone in the membership that has been gifted, or if they were trained or equipped or understood, were made aware that just that one person in that church could help one kid or a bunch of kids, or there's something they could do. So I'm not saying the whole church has to be their primary focus, but I do believe, I just don't oftentimes even hear a pastor just present it to your people. Just
Yeah.
say, here's an issue, a challenge. I don't know if, but see if anybody.
I get it. But I think that's the beauty of this series, Advocate. It's the idea of, the pastor doesn't have to
Right.
make everyone do everything. That was the frustrating thing for me when I had the big church, was just like, I had to spearhead everything, versus now it's just a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone could watch this series and then bring some friends over to the house.
Right,
Oh man, I went
right.
through this, and let it spread that way. And we don't have to put all the pressure on the head guy who's already.
One of the things I think great about you being part of this series is your ability to communicate well with the younger generation.
Yeah.
I really think the 20-somethings, maybe the 30-somethings, but the 20-somethings and teens, I think this is something that resonates with them, and the ability to learn more about it and to be equipped and trained and understand what it looks like. I think you've shown throughout your life that you have a real gift to be able to get students to, one, not only hear, but to respond and take action. And I think this is the group of people in America now, the young 30s, the 20s, and maybe the teens, that if we can get them engaged in this fight in the youth groups or the young singles or whatever it is, I think these are the people that can really make a difference, these young people.
It is, and that's why I spend a lot of time with them. At the same time, they need examples of older people who are still living by faith, and that's where the church has been so backwards. That the young people do all the crazy stuff, and then as they get older, they have a kid, and it's like, oh, I have one kid, I better just stay at home and protect him, and versus like, no, you want to take those kids on this journey. You want to show them a life that takes some faith and risk. So we really need the whole church to come together, because it's not going to be sustainable unless the older people are willing to jump in with that younger crowd.
Yeah. When I think prayer, if a church can't do anything, they can do the most important thing, and that's pray. Pray for this fight. Pray for the people. I need covering, because when you're out there pounding it and getting after it, there's a lot of stuff that comes at you, and I need the covering of prayer from people in churches. I really, as you know, we both know the power of prayer. I've seen it miraculously heal my son. I've seen it miraculously heal my wife from cancer. I've seen the power of God, and I think a lot of times it was began by people praying. And I remember when my son overdosed and was basically, they were trying to get us to pull his feeding tube. The most important thing I knew was to reach out to everyone I knew that knew God and ask them to pray for him. So to me, prayer is probably the most important, it is in my opinion, the most important help that anyone in this fight can provide. And if that's all you can do, that's a whole lot. And I'll accept everyone's prayers now, because this spiritual battle is it's challenging. So the power of prayer is so important. Francis, one of the questions I have, I think is important, that I am challenged with often is sharing what's happening in regards to human trafficking, child sex trafficking. And oftentimes people maybe hear me, maybe they don't, but it's that situation where out of sight, out of mind. So unless it's consistently in their face or they're hearing about it, it gets put on the shelf. So again, how do you, from a biblical perspective, how do you deal with the out of sight, out of mind attitude?
Well, I think about Haggai, chapter 1, when God says, hey, you guys are trying to earn all this money, but you put it in these purses with holes in it. He goes, you want to know why? Because I'm blowing it away. You want to know why I'm blowing it away? Is because you're sitting in your paneled houses while the house of God remains in ruins. And it wasn't that it was out of sight. They chose to make it out of sight. and look at their own houses like, honey, what kind of curtains should we have? Meanwhile, the temple's in ruins. And God's saying, I'm gonna make a wreck of your life because you're just focused on yourself and your stuff. We live in a digital age where nothing has to be out of sight. You see things you don't want to see.
Yeah.
But it's just, we have to make a choice to look for opportunities. I get it. It's not going to hit you every day. But it could if you choose to dwell on it. See, that was the sin of those people in Haggai's day, was it's like you're looking at your own four walls of your house, and you're making it nicer and nicer and nicer, and yet you don't care about the things that I care about. We just don't want to be people like that. And it's very easy to go, oh, I forgot. Well, no, you chose. You chose to build your own kingdom rather than what God says is seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. All that other stuff will come to you. God will take care of you, but you have to seek his kingdom first. And sadly, we live in a time when people don't want to think about it. I get it. There's times when it's, nighttime, it's been a long day, and it's like, let's just watch something. Let's watch an old Saturday Night Live rerun. I don't want to think seriously. And I think that's where a lot of people are, is we don't want to think about this. Come on, my life is already tough.
Yeah.
Because they don't see the life. Paul tells Timothy to command the rich to be rich in good deeds so that you can take hold of the life that is truly life. I want them to experience real life, and real life happens when you pour yourself into people that are in need. It's a beautiful thing, yeah.
Well, Francis, it's hard to do this, but I do want to thank you for coming to do the Advocate series. And I really do consider you a blessing in my life. You've always been there when I've most needed you, with my family, with different situations that have occurred. We've had a lot of fun together, a lot of laughs, and I think we've moved the needle and made a difference for the kingdom in some ways, hopefully, and prayerfully. And I do consider you a valued friend. And even though we don't see each other like we used to when we were living in the same hometown, but I know you're out there fighting the fight and of faith and doing what God's called you to do. And you encourage me, and you're a blessing to me. And I reflect back on a lot of different things we've done together or I've heard you say. So thank you for being a good friend.
Appreciate that. First, it's advocate and not advocate. You know what you said.
I'm from Kentucky, and
it's different because it's a verb.
I said it in Swahili.
Oh, that's what. For this
advocate.
Because it's the verb form in America. And the idea is we want to get people to advocate for them. Okay.
What was that saying?
It's a verb, which you are an advocate, and we want everyone to be advocates. But anyways.
Thanks for that English lesson.
I always have to help the white guy with his English.
Major in English.
That's what I do. I help white guys with their English. No, seriously though. I mean, we haven't seen each other in years, but when this opportunity came up, I made the time. One, because I wanted to see you, but secondly, it's super encouraging to see longevity of fighting for something. We live in a time when people, they can't keep the same job for a year. And so now we're talking about passion for God. It's just kind of this roller coaster for people. So for you to advocate, for those who don't have a voice still, and some of our friends back in the day that are still doing it to this day, 15 years later, man, that fires me up. And I hope that what we're doing here gets another generation to not go, oh, I felt emotional for a month, but now I spent the next 15 years of my life actually going after something, the mission of God. So, man, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
We'd actually like to thank Francis Chan for spending the time with us and sharing his heart to truly end human trafficking in this nation. Now, if you're thinking to yourself after this episode that you want to do a better job at fighting human trafficking in our nation, we actually have some action steps for you. Go to usiaht.org/abolitionist. From there, subscribe to our newsletter. We will be sending you actionable steps that you can do to get plugged into your local community to do a better job at preventing sex trafficking and doing a better job at doing victim care for those who have been trafficked. The more abolitionists we receive, the more action steps we are taking to end this heinous crime, and we can fight together to end human trafficking in America. You can also check out some more of our content by following our social media pages or making sure to subscribe to our podcast, the Trafficking Free America podcast. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.